Hi guys, welcome to Inspirational Journeys Through Life with Straight Talk with Nolan. I have a journey, you have a journey. But how many of us share our inspirational journeys to help others through life? Our journeys are authentic and unique, and I know you will resonate with it. I am your host, Nolan Pillay, and today I am humbled and honored to have a chat with Coach Mogale Molala, who is a speaker, author, pain coach. That's something we'll get into. Author, coach, entrepreneur, and so many other things. I see this guy flourishing on a day-to-day basis. I follow him on social media, and he's doing extremely well, especially when it comes to the contribution part as well. So welcome, my brother. So good to have you on the show today.
No, isn't it a pleasure to be on your show today? I am very honored, and thank you for the platform as well to continue contributing and changing lives out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Mogale, I'm very interested. Please share a bit more about you, where you're from, and what you're currently doing now with the audience. We have some very attentive listeners out there today who really are intrigued about who you are.
Fantastic. So, Mogale was born and bred in Limpopo. The first few years of my life, I stayed in Tzaneen, Guangkua, and then went over to Monsterlos when I was like 4 years. And then I grew up there. That's where a lot of things happened. That's where I went to preschool. That's where I went to primary. That's when I went to higher primary as well. So because of my dedication and desire for things, and I know it's quite somehow to say desire for things, but for better things. When I was in primary, my desire was to go to a school that has access to better facilities. So I studied so hard to make sure that I get there. That's when after my grade 7, I went to a boarding school far north Limpopo. So it was in Ubutokwa, just after Polokwane, before Malamulele and others. So I went there boarding school. The boarding school honestly opened my eyes. It was what I wanted. It was what I've been fighting to have. Opened my eyes in a lot of avenues because they used to have motivational speakers, former students coming in, day out. Because back home where I come from, it was difficult for me to have a reference of anybody, So you grew up looking at teachers, principals, at best the nurses. So that's the only careers we're exposed to. But when I went then to boarding school, that's when I was exposed to a lot of careers. And I was exposed to a lot of opportunities that I never even knew they existed. And that's where my speaking journey started, because immediately after I was exposed to those opportunities, I went home and I started sharing about such things. So guys, look at careers from this, look at this, look at that, look at that. So that was basically how I started my speaking journey, even though the attendance wasn't that good because people didn't necessarily pay attention to motivation, So you'll have a workshop. I remember my first workshop, I had 2 guys. So that was how I started. My first workshop, I had 2 people that I was doing career counseling with. I was educating them about different careers that are there in universities, different universities that are there, different kind of funding opportunities that exist. So that's how typically my journey started before I came to Pretoria. So after completing my high school education, I came to Pretoria. Pretoria was a wow for me. One, because that's when I started to see that actually people do speak for a living. For the very first years of my life, I didn't even believe this thing existed, that you can actually make money out of speaking. Fine, I started attending seminars and growing my network with people, with different speakers. When I was doing that, one of the speaker then said, no, Mal, I like how you speak and everything. Come and work at TUTFM as our residential speaker. Then I started going there. That's why I started developing content, posting on social media, and all of that. But before that as well, I was knocking at doors of different institutions or organizations, asking for platforms to speak so that I can be comfortable in speaking and be that consistent so that I can improve my speaking. Because remember, even with regards to English, I didn't have that level of confidence to speak English for like an hour or so. So I needed those kind of platforms so that I can engage on a daily basis. Up until now, the journey has been amazing. I mean, just last year, I was awarded the Championship of Public Speaking in Pretoria, RTBS, and Rustenburg. And the irony behind this is that I was competing with people that have been in the industry for years. And when I say 4 years, I'm talking about an old man who's doing public speaking for about 30 years now and about to compete at that level. So these are certain opportunities that dwell to consistency and working on self-consistency consistently as well, you'll be exposed to. And still on the very same year, I got an award for the best African honorary award, which is given to only 200 authors in the entire Africa. So you'll be privileged to get that award because it means your book is the best, one of the best books in Africa. So typically that's been about my journey. I was also exposed to a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of people that today people admire, look up to, and all of that. I've been exposed to a lot more things to a point where I've been shot documentaries, went on television, and did this and did that. And it was been indeed a fulfilling and an amazing journey to travel.
Wow, wow. You know, I knew something about you, but I didn't know as much as well. So congratulations and well done on from where you have come to where you are now as well. So I like the part where you said when you got back to Pretoria, it was like all about sharing to inspire other people. Now, you and I know there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of knowledge today, but they're afraid of sharing it with the masses because they feel that maybe their job would be taken or something like that. So the sharing to inspire is really key to me because not many people want to do that. That's your contribution. That's your contribution to other humans as well. So what else are you sharing to the public out there as well? Because from what I'm looking at, you like to mentor, coach, and groom others as well, right?
So yeah, given the painful experiences that I've went through, that is why I usually say my bio is a long bio. Already, I can consider it as a biography, you know. But anyways, as I was saying, one, I'm a coach. I coach authors who want to publish their books or who want to write books. So there are certain systems that I've put in place that makes it way much more easier for an author to break down their books and to can write effectively. Two, people who went through painful experiences, let it be trauma, let it be bad upbringing or things that are hunting you from the past. Let it be issues with family, issues with parents, all those bad experiences that you might encounter growing up, most especially, then I'm there to assist. And a bit on relationships as well. I do assist couples as well. So to solidify all of this, I went and did life coaching and NLP. But after that, I also went and did NLP and master practitioner. So that's on another level. That's another level of NLP. So when now you go an extra an advanced level to know about NLP. So NLP, just to give a brief about it, is more of it stands for neuro linguistic programming or neuro language programming, which is just more about how people behave, how people think, how people perceive themselves, and how can you give people resources that they already have within them that are not aware that they have them to make the best versions of themselves. So I've collaborated with my past experience and everything to can now come up with a solid program that then I can coach people, mentor them, and ensure that they become the best versions of themselves. And simply because I know how it feels to be in the other end.
Yeah.
I know how it feels not being able to forgive people. I know how it feels to have anger issues. I know how it feels to grow up with hatred. I know how it feels, all of those. And my resolution from that point in time was I don't want to see anyone else going through the very same experiences that I went through. So that's why I'm contributing back to try to say, I am here in case you need me, let's engage. So that I make sure that you become the best version of yourself and you become at peace and become at ease. Because one thing that people neglect about pain is that when pain comes to you, it disturbs your peace entirely. And when you're not at peace, you're not at ease. And when you're not at ease, you're not being productive. So when not being productive, most definitely, it means your job can be on the line. Your studies can be on the line. Your family can be on the line. Your friends can be on the line. And so you don't want all of this to be affecting a huge margin of people, or else you can change it. You know, I usually say this, and I'll make an illustration in a second. Let me do this to show you something. So I have a glass, is an empty glass, right? So there's a chance that if now I can hold this glass and break it, it will hurt me, right? Why is this philosophy very important? And I call it a glass philosophy. There's a glass philosophy that I've developed and other philosophies as well that you will know later on during the podcast. You know, so the glass philosophy says broken people break others. Just like the glass, if I hold on the glass so much or some for a much more longer, trying to break it, instead it will break me too, right? So a lot of people now are getting affected around you because you are that broken glass that goes around breaking other more people. I've broken a lot of people in my life. Sometimes I sit and thank God that I managed to ask for forgiveness, so that I still haven't had an opportunity to. Because now, in my pursuit of brokenness and in my pursuit of running away from pain, I went on to break other people as well. Because the truth is, those who run away from pain experience pain even much more further in their pursuit of running away from pain.
Wow. Wow. So many golden nuggets from there. The first one to me is when you mentioned about your workshop and 2 people attended. You know, to the listeners out there, just remember one thing: when you're starting off in any work that you're passionate about, even if there's one attendee, you still go ahead as per normal. Like Mogale did with 2 people attending his workshop, he still persisted, he still persevered, and look at him today, how he's grown. So that's one of the things. Don't give up. Giving up is never an option. It's period, right? Never an option at all. The second part is broken people break others. This is so true. And we have a lot of broken people in the world, in Africa alone. Now, people are broken because of circumstances, conditioning of the mindset, etc. And this is where a lot of people need assistance, and they need to be reaching out to people like Mogale or myself so that we can guide you. Remember, when you're broken, we're not saying you're destroyed completely. It means you have some unresolved issues that we need to go down to the root cause of those problems, find out what the root cause is, fix that so that you can be at peace with yourself and move forward stronger than ever. So here is a guy, Mogale, who's been on this journey. He's experienced it, and now he's willing to share his trauma, his pain with as many people as possible for one reason only: to make you be the best version of yourself, to help you be a better human, right? We all are striving to do that as well. The other thing that struck me is, and I like this part, Mogale, because you've taken your painful moments and you've turned it into a success journey. I've been down this road as well, right? So there's a Reverend Michael Beckwith, who I learned with, and he calls this your Kensho moments. Your Kensho moments is basically the pain that you go through as an individual, but the pain can either do 2 things. One, it could stop you in your tracks and put you into depression. Eventually, you would pass on with that, or you take on the pain, you learn from it, and you move forward stronger than ever. So I'm so glad, and I'm really grateful that you chose to use your painful experiences as a way where you can grow and be a better person in life. Do you want to touch on maybe one of those painful moments?
Okay, fantastic. I'll do that. But you know, as you were speaking, you just reminded me of something that I forgot to mention, and I think it's very important that I do that. And it's such a wonderful philosophy that if you can think about it, you'll go like, yeah, but you're being honest there. So here's it, right? So one thing that I've learned about trauma over the years is that trauma is generational. It's quite ironic how my trauma can affect my kids and how my kids' trauma can affect their kids as well. And how now we'll go into the generation of my trauma. Understand? Let me give you a simple narration. So if you take back the generation of, let's take it back to the apartheid, né? And you come back to now, there are a few things. One, there are a few systems that already has been instilled due to the trauma that they've experienced in this instant. So back then, our parents were not educated, right? Then education came into place. When education came into place, each and every parent was striving for their kids to be educated, right? Because on the fear that they won't get jobs, on the fear that they will be like them, and on the fear that they want them to do better than what they got in life. Not work in the kitchens and stuff, but just be a policeman or a teacher or a nurse, right? And that generation is a generation that then brought the apartheid generation, right? And they said to them, look, kids, without education, you are nothing. Without schooling, you are nothing. Without this, without that, you are nothing. But now, let's come back and analyze this. Why is each and every generation that came after imposing their own fears on the next generation? Simply because that trauma that they've experienced, not being unemployed, being this, being that, then has been they've been embedded in them that now they feel a need that their kids need to go to school. But again, how many parents now support kids who want to do arts, who want to do music, perhaps, who want to do this, want to do that? So you can see they're not supporting music due to past experiences that said you cannot do music. It's a waste of time. But now, if you can look at the likes of Casper Nyovest and other successful musicians out there, they're making it big, right? They say, Mogale, you cannot surround your life around speaking. How can you make money by just mere speaking? But Mogale is making thousands and thousands of thousands by speaking. So why is that? Why is it that we need to be conscious about that? Simply because we might be also raising a set generation not being aware due to our past traumas. So if you don't find someone like me or someone like Nolan to deal with those traumas that you went through, it might be as a child, it might be as a parent, then you will create, we're consistently creating that generation of traumatic experiences. That generation that will take the decisions based on fear of failure. That generation that will take their decisions based entirely of what ifs. And if we want to break that cycle, then we need to face our traumas. We need to face them head on so that we become better versions of ourselves, so that we can create better versions of our own kids as well and support them in whatever journey that they go through. So now coming to the question of what is one of my moments where it was something else. You know, it's quite ironic as well how one thing, one problem can give birth to 1,000 more problems in this essence. So my problem has always been an absent father, right? Absent father in this essence. So my father was present from 0 to 7 years of age. And in his presence, due to divorce settlement, custody battles, then my father had to leave the house and all those kind of things, according to court orders and whatever. So when that experience happened, my world crumbled in this sense. You grew up in this setup that today they call it couple goals, perfect family, all these labels that you can think of. Imagine as a child, you grow up and you experience that. The couple goals, the this, that you go out as a family. You go out as this, as that, with family friends, with this. You go on daddy and son vacations. You go on family vacations. You name them, those kind of sweetest things that they might be appealing to kids. I mean, for me, it was not about whether they're appealing or not, but for me, it was because I loved them. So I love adventure. I love going out. I love being around family and all of that. So when that is taken away from me, is an entire shift of my worldview. Primary, I was diagnosed with ulcer because of a lot of stress. I couldn't get help because I remember I was in grade 2 when that happened. I was diagnosed with ulcer because of a lot of stress. I couldn't get help because it didn't make sense for doctors to have a kid having ulcers. I mean, what are you stressing about? But it was like that for me. I was so stressed that it got me to ulcers at an early age, right? So fast forward things, I went in and outside of hospitals trying to get the necessary help, but I couldn't. Fine. There was a time I remember I was also in bed sick. So I was home writing my exams at home. I couldn't even stand up. I was lying on bed for days. Fine, fast forward things then. When I went to high school, I started to realize that perhaps the whole things are happening because I don't feel loved. I'm not feeling appreciated, and I don't feel a sense of being. Those were some of the killer contributions or killer feelings that were going on within me. Because when then other family members of schoolmates, they came and saw them almost every weekend. But with me, there was a different scenario because they couldn't afford to come and see me as often. So I will only see them when I go home, which is either is on Badass weekend or is when school closes. So that's the only time I get to see my family. But I get to see friends and schoolmates being taken out, being bought things and stuff like that, almost on every weekly basis, So fine. Now you start to a point where their engagements, people talk about how amazing their fathers are, how contributional their fathers are. And now you cannot engage on such and say, but my father left me. You cannot engage on such and say, I don't have a father. You have two options. Either you leave the conversation or you lie. So it was those kind of contributions. Then I was like, no, man. But if I can be in a relationship, I will feel better. Perhaps if someone loves me enough, I'll feel a sense of being. I went into my first relationship and I saw that, but one person's love is not enough. I went on other romantic relationships as well. You name them, maybe having about 3, 4, 5 girlfriends at the same time, because I was trying to fill that void, that I need people then to love me, because it seems like nobody cares. I need people to care for me. I need people to appreciate me. I need them to confirm me, So all of these experiences led me at some point into a deep depression. Why or how did the depression happen? Because now I've realized, but Mogale, what are you doing? Like exactly what are you doing? Because you have been in these relationships, hating these people, doing this, doing that. Just like the broken glass philosophy that I was sharing in the earlier on the podcast. So it went further until a point where I reached rock bottom. And I'm like, this is the end of it. Now I'm going to stay with one person. Stayed with one person, guess what happened? 3 years in the relationship, the person cheated on me with my mentee. Then you think about that again as well. Now I've committed myself to this person. He does the very same thing that everyone else has been doing, is hating. Now I'm going to lose them again. Just like I lost my father. Went on another second relationship after some time. it was good at first, but started to become toxic. Because now this person knew how vulnerable I was, and they were taking advantage of that. That Mogale will listen to me, otherwise I will threaten to leave. And they will beg for me not to leave. To a point where now, I remember this day vividly when he was like, Mogale, it's over. I'm like, no, that's a good one over there. Then let me take my life so that I can take a break from this vulnerable world. So I took an overdosage of pills. I think it was about 25 pills that I had. I took all of them at once, drank them, slept. I can say by God's grace, I came back. After a few hours, I woke up very tired a bit, feeling drowsy and all of that. Then I decided I'm not going to eat anything. Now I'm going to take even, this liquid medication and all of it. Now I'm taking every medication that is there on the house. I'm taking everything. Took entirely everything. Took everything. The lady who then dumped me got a message from me that was saying, I hope you will be happy. And unfortunately, when he called, my phone was off. So already she saw something is wrong. She came to me and rescued me. I was embarrassed for days. I wouldn't lie. I was embarrassed for days that really I've tried to commit suicide. And, it's something to want to commit suicide, but it's something not to die. in a pursuit of death, and not dying, because now you are faced with a lot more than what you have been faced with before the incident. Now it's about the embarrassment. It's about now people wanted to know what were you doing, what led to that, all of that. And now talking about it sometimes just makes it a lot more even better. But you get to acknowledge that when you start speaking about it a lot to people who care about you, and then start to lift the burden start to be lifted up slowly. So up until then, after all of those incidences, I've decided to go on self-discovery journey, self-awareness journey, self-development journey. And I went for counseling. After counseling, I did the courses that I told you about. I did life coaching and NLP in trying to understand human behavior, in trying to understand myself better as well, understanding other people as well, even to get further to do life and master practitioner, so that I become the person that, I prepare myself to be a person that when opportunity comes, then we can meet at equilibrium. Because at some point, you need to prepare yourself for the opportunity that you don't even know whether it's going to come or not. You're going to prepare yourself for things that you don't even know whether people will listen to you or not. As I told you, I did the workshop, 2 people came. I went and I spoke and I delivered a very good job. So it's one of those things that now you are preparing yourself for opportunities that you don't know, because anything or at any given moment in time can happen. If it was not because of preparation and the necessary steps or the painful experiences that I went through, I don't think I would be this person that I am today, because my painful experiences were in preparation of my purpose. And at that, it was something that I couldn't see. Even if you told me that, no, Mogale, things are going to be okay, I was going to think there's something wrong with you, because it was just not making sense, to a point where you start to even question God's existence. But is this really the man that they say he is? Does he really even live? All those kind of things. You just question things. Say, but if these things are true, then why are we suffering?
Yeah.
But due to the preparation and the thorough training, I got up to be the best version of self. At the age of 24, which I wrote the book at the age of 21 and other years, writing a book that then becomes the best book in Africa. And then that on its own tells you about the power of preparation. And now, speaking with people who have been in 30 years in the industry, and winning, then that shows you the power of preparation as well. And now you associate yourself with legends. I mean, may his soul rest in peace. I was a good friend, and he was a good father, Patrick Shai. You know, we did events together. We were supposed to do an event together as well. We shared a lot of moments, good moments together. So for me to get to that level, man, it was because of the work. You know, then people started calling to say, no, we want to meet you, want to know more about your story, you want to know those kind of things. And when that happens, they need to find you at a prepared level. That is why you need to then develop, self-motivate, and all of those things, and heal from those traumas. Because if I couldn't heal from them, then I wouldn't be here now. I'll still be that angry young man who goes around having multiple relationships because they're running away from what's hunting them, you know. But now I'm a man who's soon to be married, you know. So you start to see the distinction now to say this compared to that, but preparation needs to happen, because I always say that each and every painful experience has a positive intention to the one it affects. And this does not make sense when you're going through that, you know, until a point where now you start to acknowledge that actually I only found out that I'm strong after that guy had, you know, I didn't realize I can be this tolerative, or I can be this patient with a person. But you know what? I've been patient for years, man. So how do you realize that? Because of painful experiences.
Yeah.
How did you know that you're beautiful? Have you ever been in that position where you have to consistently look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm beautiful. I'm the best version of myself. I am this, I am that. Why? Because of painful experiences. People have been telling you you are ugly. People have been telling you this. People have been telling you that. But now you start to do self-affirmations. You start to affirm yourself. If you look closely, just above my head, just here, you'll realize that there's a paper somewhere there, and those are my affirmations, so that I can show you what I'm writing. But these are affirmations that are all over my wall. Why? Because I too still affirm to self and say, Mogale, you are the best version of yourself. Mogale, you can still do it. Mogale, you are not a product of procrastination. So all those affirmations, I go around each and every morning when I open my eyes, I see them. Why? They are always a consistent reminder that I am indeed the opportunity that the world has been waiting for.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. So there's a few things, right? So, you know, the not feeling loved. So, you know, I do a lot of personal development with some international coaches. And one of the things about not feeling loved is it always starts within. You got to love yourself first before you can even love someone else in another relationship or anyone else. So it must start. So I like the fact that you said you learned how to love yourself, and you're reaffirming this every single day by reading out your affirmations and stuff. So to the audience out there, this is really important for you to get, is affirmations is not something that you're just going to say like that. Affirmations, like Mogale says, is you say it with emotions. You say it with intention. When you start doing that, watch how your subconscious mind changes and you start believing yourself. I can resonate a lot with what you said about being embarrassed and worried what society and the community thinks about you. I've been on my own suicide mission. I ended up in hospital when I was in my grade 12 of year. And I can tell you, I felt embarrassed about what the community and the society thinks about me. And I had to face them. But here's the key part. When I realized that they just don't care, it made me realize that you can go along with your life and do whatever you need to do as well. And the last one I want to touch on this is self-development. This, I mean, to the listeners out there, personal development is something that's ongoing. We're growing and we're learning on a daily basis. If you dedicate at least 30 minutes of your time every single day to understanding yourself better, mastering yourself, it's going to make a major impact to your life. And I tell you, the reason why I tell you that is every single one of us here, like Mogale, we are climbing our own mountains. There's going to be certain points in your life where only you can climb that mountain. I can push you, I can nudge you. Mogale can push you, nudge you, etc. But it's going to be up to you to make that decision to climb that mountain and take the last step. So self-development is something that we should really be doing in this century, because gone are the days where you're all alone. There's so much of information around. There's so many coaches around. Try and find a coach that's willing to work with you. Don't see a coach as a counselor. A coach is not a counselor. A coach is a coach.
Yeah.
Like you have a football coach, a rugby coach, a cricket coach. A coach is like somebody you can interact with who's been on this journey and can help you through these experiences. And trust me, those painful experiences Mogale talks about, we've learned through it, and you are going through, I can almost guarantee a lot of the listeners are having painful moments, but you don't know how to deal with it. This is where you need to connect with us and we can help you, right? So very well said there, Mogale. You know, there's something else I picked up in your bio as well. And, you know, I want to touch on this a little, right? You started off a book at the age of 21, I think it was called Be the Light. And
Yeah.
it so happened at the time your laptop got stolen and you said you didn't eventually publish it. Did you eventually get to the book and publish it, or do you have plans to publish it?
Okay, so this is what happened. Ironically, it's unfortunate that I don't even have the certificate that I was going to show you. Ironically, I've been writing from as early as like 8 years. I've been writing, you know. But what I've been writing then is different. I've been writing short stories. I've been writing my imagination. Perhaps you watch movies, you hear about how Paris is the city of love. You write about Paris according to your own imagination. You imagine yourself being there with your person, with your family, and all of that. That's all I was writing. But also, I was writing my emotions because I felt like people did not understand. People did not understand what I was going through. And now they come up with their own opinions and whatever, and they don't relate to what I'm going through. So pen and paper was one of my best friends. That is why I was even able to concentrate for such a long time, because I didn't even have friends at that level. The only friend I had was a pen and paper, though I have people I could communicate with in class and all that. But so I wrote that book as soon as I was in grade 5. I was just writing on papers. I had a book, I wrote, maybe the book got stolen. I was taking papers out of books, writing. So when I was doing grade 9, I've decided then to make all that collection and compile it to be a book. Ne? The book, though, it was a bit Christian-based book, talking about Christianity and all of that. But the book itself was also a reflectionary book about how you can successfully be the light in your own community, be the light in people's lives, be the light everywhere you go, and shine on the light. You remember, I think there's a scripture, if it's not in John, that says, be the light. So that's what the passage came in, the title of the book, Be the Light. So I've typed the entire papers, I've typed down, decided to burn that. After burning all of that, I burned it together with my book, my year-end book. So I decided that I went and bought a USB. My mom took the laptop to work because she was going to work and it was her laptop. On that very same day that I'm buying a USB, saying I'm going then to take the book to the USB, just in case something happens, I still have the USB. On the very same day, the laptop got stolen. And unfortunately, I was not even aware of the Google Drive, all those kind of softwares that you can save your work at. So there was no evidence of that book. The papers, I burned them. The book itself, the laptop got stolen. So there's nothing more I can do. I was depressed for days, years, because I stopped writing after that until 3 years later, when I was not only also not even writing, I was entering writing competitions. That's when I got a bronze medal for English Olympiad Award, English Olympiad competition. So all of those things back then, I was just doing them. And in grade 7, I got, I won an award in essay writing, you know. So, but those are stories that, they are long stories that after now you realize, But actually, it's been an amazing journey. I didn't even realize at that time that I would get this far. I was just writing or just entering, because even the competition I won in grade 7, I was forced to join it by my teacher. Was like, Mogale, you can do it. I was like, no, ma'am, I can't. Like, no, Mogale, you can do it. Write an essay. I was like, ma'am, no, I cannot write. I can't even read properly. You know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that level of confidence or that level of self-esteem that I can do this. No. Even when I was writing, I was just writing it. But unfortunately, it became a masterpiece, you know. So yeah, that's the story with Be the Light. Though I still hope one day, I don't know, God willingly, where I will write or retrieve that information and start writing about that book again. Because to be honest, it wasn't an exciting book. It was very interesting. It was very, very mature for my age. It was just something else.
Wow. Well, you know, you believe in the saying, if it's meant to be, it will happen, right? So, you know, if there is a purpose for you rewriting that book and coming up with it again, it will happen as well. The universe answers, right? You just have to just believe in it as well. So yeah, no, that was very interesting. And I'm glad, you see, even with the stolen laptop, Mogale didn't stop. He still carried on writing. And look at how much he has achieved today. He's even got another book out, which is called Truth About Pain, right?
Yeah, the Untold Truth About Pain.
The Untold Truth About Pain. Tell us a quick snippet about this book, Untold Truth About Pain.
Wow. So this has been a book for decades, you know. It's a book for generations and generations and generations and generations to come. One, I share a bit of my own experiences. So a bit of what I've told you or what I shared with you, a bit of that. But I also then give you tangible resources of how then I managed to get out of that, you know, how I managed to get out of depression, what the resources did I use, how can you become the best self, you know, and all of those things. Like, it also gives clear definitions of concepts such as forgiveness. For example, I used to think forgiveness is something big until I realized that forgiveness simply means removing the desire to hold somebody accountable for their past mistakes. Yeah. So one key element there is the desire. You can check everywhere as you reflect. One key element there is the desire. You know, the desire to hold them accountable. I need them to account. I need them to answer. I need them to feel the pain that I'm feeling. So once you remove that desire, it becomes much more easier. And also understanding that forgiveness is about you more than the next person. Yeah. You know, so it gives clear definitions about that, and how then I managed to turn my pain into power. So all of those concepts, I mean, it has also wonderful philosophies inside, such as different types of storms. I'll give you one. There's what we call the building storm. So a building storm is a building painful experience. So you go through a painful experience because that experience is building you to something much more greater. That experience is molding you to something way far much more ahead than you think. So it gives clear definitions of that and how they can affect you or affect society, all those sorts of things. And because I've been a cheater before, as I said, I've been there. There's some traits that I came about with. You know, what gives you traits about cheaters. You get to know, for example, things such as, I am sorry, I will never do it again. You know, I don't know what got into me. Those kind of things. And when the book went out, I kid you not, a lot of guys just hated that part about the book. And that eventually there is where Mogale exposes us to that extreme. But it's just a bit of educational, that you become familiar with red flags. You know, you can see even in your relationships that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. But it also then goes further, the chapter of relationships, to give you, I call it 3 steps to heal a broken heart, where now it gives you necessary steps that one, you can take after a breakup, you know, and all of those kind of concepts that are within the book that are going to transform you and make you aware that actually pain is not as bad as we think it is. In fact, it's not something to be scared of. The reason why I'm called the pain advocate is that I always say people must go through pain. People must endure the pain, you know, and to the fullest for that matter, because it's only after that that you will reap the benefits of pain.
Correct.
I usually say this when I do storytelling for kids in primary schools and others, that then Mr. Pain came and said, lean on me and lean on me fully. Because those who lean on me and lean on me fully never get out of this pain room at the same. So I give this clear illustration of a dark room that you can imagine yourself being there. You're trying to shout, you're trying to cry, you're trying to crumble, but seemed like there's just no light. Nobody's coming to your rescue until you heard a voice from Pain himself saying, lean on me and lean on me fully. Because those who lean on me and lean on me fully never get out of this room the same. And once then you see that, you get the light. Because after that, once you know that you're not supposed to run away from pain, you're not supposed to be shouting and crying and hitting walls and this and that, but you need to lean on the pain and lean on the pain fully. Because it's only after leaning on the pain that you will get out of that painful experience, that the dark room that you are in right now. You will get out of that being the best version of yourselves. You know, when I was doing this, I remember there was a stage, and I also shared this in the book, in my life where I had nowhere to sleep. I had to sleep in a taxi for a few nights. And as I was sleeping in the taxi, it was a taxi for a friend. I just requested, can I at least then, I wouldn't bother you sleeping in your house, and can I at least then just have a taxi to sleep, so that every day I can go. That time I was giving a bursary to go and attend some course in Soshanguve. So I wanted to make the best out of that bursary. I couldn't just leave everything. So yeah, as I was going through that experience, I remembered of how almost every person we can consider as successful or whatever, how at some point in their lives they've went through painful experiences. And when I was going through that, my biggest consolation was this is indeed part of the journey that I had to endure to become the best version of myself. Now there's a chapter I've dedicated. It says, the lessons poverty taught me. Because if it was not because of that experience, I wasn't gonna be able to know certain things, how to appreciate little things, such as water, how to appreciate little things, such as a slice of bread, how to appreciate little things, such as electricity, how to appreciate little things, such as a place to lay your head in, how to appreciate little things, such as air. So once you understand that, and you've been through a thorough process, a thorough hardship about that, I kid you not, you will start to acknowledge that everything in this entire world is put together in place so that it can produce the best out of what we see now. Because now, as I was going through that, after the sleeping in a taxi for a few nights, I managed to gather some funds. I rented a shack with no electricity, everything, no food. So you name those kind of things. So now you start to appreciate that at least I still have a light on. You appreciate little things such, at least now I can still be able to drink this water.
Indeed.
You start to appreciate such things, because you understand that there's someone out there who doesn't have that.
Absolutely.
There's someone out there who is just envying to have a glass of water. Not a lot of things. I'm not talking about food. I'm not talking about KFC, McDonald's. I'm not talking about all these luxurious things that we consume. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about a glass of water. How often do we take for granted just a mere glass of water?
Exactly.
There's someone envying that. You know, I had to travel long distance to get water. And that's where you start to realize that a glass of water, it is as important as a slice of bread. It is as important as the air we breathe. It is as important as the electricity we consume and all those kind of aspects. So now it gets there. That experience taught me a lot about appreciation, about the spirit of gratitude, about the spirit of Ubuntu, togetherness, what it means. Because in the squatter camp that I was staying, wow, those people were united. Those people were together. Those people were fighting together. There was a time where I had even a friend there who used to cook for me and say, Mogale, don't worry. One day God will make a way. And at that time, I used to have at least 1 meal a day. And that meal, I will get it from her. She will cook for me at night. During the day, she will be out going to school at night to say, Mogale, I cooked tin fish. Let's have a meal. And that I'm grateful for, because it was that experience that taught me how to be strong. It was that experience that taught me that nothing is impossible. Because back in the day, you'll think it's impossible to go 3 days without food. But I've experienced that. I know it's possible. I know it's possible to go for 3 days or to even 4 days or 5 days without eating anything. It is possible. It's just a question of whether do you believe it or you don't. One of the most successful person said, whether you think you can or you think you can't. I think it was Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right.
Yeah, exactly.
So in that element, I learned quite a lot. And it was because of the tough times that I went through. And right now, as I'm shooting this podcast, a lot of people are asking myself, but Mogale, you're supposed to go and bury your father on a Sunday. And that's a good thing. But I'll tell you one thing, I kid you not. You'll get to learn it much more on an advanced level. The saying, the phrase that says, when it rains, it pours. And it's something, there's something powerful behind that statement itself that, I don't know. It was just a concept that I came about yesterday, that when I sat down, I'm like, but when it rains, it is indeed pours. And how is that? Simply because of energy. And it's so ironic. Let me tell you something. So once you're going through a painful experience, your energy will determine whether how long will it reach that next painful experience, or how long will it take for you to get out of that painful experience. And it's such an ironic thing. Look at it in this way. If you sit down depressed, feeling pity for yourself, feeling sorry for yourself, chances are not only that incident will affect you, but there will be another incident very soon, within a week or even within a day, that will come and affect you too. And they become another incident. So that when it rains, it pours. Yeah. But once you can now sit down and be like, as much as I could hear there's rain, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take out baskets and all of that, Jojo tanks, and fill the rain in that, so that I can be able to drink the water just like I do now. So once you can be able to understand that concept, that once you take everything with a positive energy to say that, but what do I need to learn from this? Ask yourself right questions and be on the right energy. If it needs to be, maybe you do yoga, then do yoga. Myself, I do jogging. When I'm not in the right energy, I do jogging. After jogging, I calm my bath, I relax, I meditate, I read my affirmations, and then I channel my energy to positive things. And guess what will happen? Positive things will start happening.
Absolutely.
Look at it in this way, for example. Let me share with you the story of the week. So today I'm shooting a podcast with you. Tomorrow I have about 3, if not 4 radio interviews. Friday I have an engagement. I'm speaking somewhere else in Atteridgeville. Friday I'm going to bury my father. All of these things were not going to happen if my energy was not in the right place. Not to say you are not mourning. I'm mourning, trust me, fully and energetically so. But now ask yourself right questions. What is it that I need to learn from this experience? What is God or whoever defined intervention that I believe in communicating with me? What is it that I need to learn? And once you understand this, trust me, you're going to be, I don't know, that level of emotional intelligence to a point where you can be in a gig and they tell you bad news and you continue maintaining that level until you go back to what I refer to as a sacred space, which is your own comfort zone where you cry your heart out.
Yeah.
So once you understand these dynamics, it becomes much more easier to go through this life. You just need to understand it. Life is fair. You just need to understand it. You need to understand how the world communicates. You need to understand how certain things communicate. There are certain things that will happen in your life to disturb your peace and progress. It will just be up to you whether you want to give them the power to or you don't give them the power to. You choose where you focus your energy on. I usually say, I might not have control of what happens to me, but I have absolutely and full control of how I react and relate to that. And sometimes the problem is not the problem, but the problem is how you see the problem.
Yeah.
To give an example in closing, I'll say divorce it is a problem for a lot of people. Alcoholism, it is a problem for a lot of people. But those things, if you can be the voice of reason and turn things around and look at it as an opportunity for you to transform people, for you to transform other people that are going through the same experience. I'll give an example, one last example. Patrick Shai used to beat his wife. So it was that example. But he was then changed around, changed that problem to be the voice of reason, to share with people of how they become better versions of themselves and how not to become what he used to be. So all of that was a problem itself, that already he was beating his wife, but he went for counseling and got his fair share of things. And then he proceeded and started transforming other men out there and encouraging them to speak up about their problems and etc., etc. Hence, the problem is not always the problem, but the problem is how then do you see the problem?
No, absolutely. Wow, very well said there. So I think as we close off as well, as we start to wrap up, my sympathies to you and your family on the passing of your father. And I know all will go through, but what I like about what you said there is energy. Your energy is so important in everything you do. If your energy is on the right frequency, trust me and believe me, any obstacle that comes your way, you become consciously aware of it and you know how to handle it. So always try to have your energy levels at high. Like Mogale said, it doesn't mean to say you're not mourning. He is mourning, but he has a different way of mourning. We all have different ways of mourning, right? So also make sure that we need to understand that certain things in life happen and we have no control over it, but we have control of how we handle it from within as well. So very, very important on that level. I hear you completely on the complainers. So there's a lot of people out there that keep complaining and say, I'm feeling so sick, I'm tired, I'm depressed, etc. Guess what? You're going to be tired and depressed for the rest of your life because you are filling your mind with that thought that you are tired, you're depressed, you're sad, you're unemployed, etc. What you need to do is change it around into positive statements so that you can recondition your mindset into believing that you are powerful beyond measure and you can achieve and do anything that you like in life. So once again, Mogale, thank you so much for inspiring us. We're really grateful to have you on our inspirational journeys through life with Straight Talk with Nolan. And in closing, any last words or tips that you would like to share with our listeners, or tell us about any future projects in about 2 minutes. And also, how can the audience get in touch with you? How can they get a hold of your books as well?
Fantastic. So I will start with future projects, right? So we're having an event, actually a conference coming up on the 29th of April this year to the 1st of May. The ticket price goes for 1,005, couples for 1,008. And those ticket prices include your accommodation, your food, your one-on-one coaching sessions, etc. for that particular weekend. So that's one of the projects that are currently happening. And then Yeah, others will be communicated on my social media platforms. On Facebook, I am Mogale Molala. Similarly, sorry. On Instagram, I am Mogale Molala too. On Twitter, I am Mogale Molala. So just search Mogale Molala in all social media platforms. You'll find me there. And then in case you want to order my books, this is how it looks like. The Untold Truth About Pain, how to turn your pain into power. Then you can just send me a WhatsApp on 072-572-0676. I'll repeat that one last time, 072-572-0676. And my parting words will always be at peace so that you don't become a piece. And lastly, always strive to become the best version of yourself. Because once you are the best version of yourself, trust me. Not to say not going to meet any challenges, but trust me, the level of containment, the level of peace you come, just by speaking on this podcast alone, I will have a very wonderful night today. I'll sleep peacefully because I'm doing what I love and I'm loving what I'm doing. So do that for yourself, do that for your kids. Let them experience the happy you. Let them let them learn from you what it means to be happy. Let them take those notes. But again, pain isn't as bad as we think it is. We can learn from pain. We can grow from pain. We can become millionaires from pain. So with that being said, thank you very much, Nolan, for the podcast and for having me today. It's indeed a wonderful journey. I wish we can have this conversation all day long. Unfortunately, because of time, we couldn't. But also just to clear the air, not to avoid contradictions and stuff. So the reason why I call or refer to Patricia as my dad is simply because of the ways that I cannot forget. That after I shared my story with him, he said to me, Mogale, from today onwards, you are my son. Anything you need, anything you want, just shout, I'll do it for you. And every time when he answered my calls, he'll always say, my son. And I'll always say, father, on Tateshai. And that's been the relationship we've been having. I'm glad I had a chance to spend time with him, even in the last days of his life. Though it was not an easy pill to swallow, because when I heard the news, we just spoke in yesterday, and it was like, I can't believe it, but it's a learning curve as well. And it indeed shows you of how broken people can break others. When you saw how social media went blasting, and everything as to run away from what you call the truth of the matter is, sometimes people are what I refer to as a reflection. So now I can, that's why even in the Bible it says, it's easy for us to see what is on another person, not what is within us, because those things are usually the same. You see and you recognize what you are. But anyways, these are my parting words. Be well, be safe. Don't forget, we still at COVID, wear your mask and sanitize. Thank you.
Perfect. Well said. Thank you so much, Mogale. So be the best version of yourself always. Check out our channels as well. So thanks, guys, for listening. Be sure to share the show with your friends, your family, or anyone else. As I always say, people resonate with authentic stories like Mogale's story. And please follow our social media. My handle is StraightTalkWithNolan, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our stories are authentic and inspirational. So in saying this, best wishes on your journey.